Hello there, and welcome into my sports talk show. Joined by a special guest today on my sports talk show, a former MLB player for one season with the Houston Astros in 2013, and a coaching staff member of the Royals from 14 to 16, and was part of the World Series champ Royals in 2015. How are you doing today, Cody?
I'm doing good. Yeah, doing very well. Thanks for having me on today.
You're welcome. Thanks for coming on.
You're welcome. It's good to be here.
What got you into wanting to play baseball, first of all, when you were, let's say, before you were a little kid?
Yeah, I was a little kid, and my dad was a college baseball coach for over 30 years. And he had a real love and real passion for baseball. Both my brother's a year older than me, and we grew up just loving baseball. We loved to go to the field with my dad and play, and just kind of loved to come home and practice. And I just remember being out in the yard with my brother all the time, just playing baseball. And that just kind of our love for baseball just kind of grew.
Now, how did you train to get ready for baseball before you started playing professionally?
Yeah, that's good. Like I said, my brother and I used to just play all the time. And luckily, my dad was a college coach in Arkansas, and so we had access to batting cages and fields to just practice a lot. And I remember, even my brother, he would drag me to the cage all the time, and so we would hit all the time and do things like that. And then I went to college, and then that's when, the weight room became a big part of what I did. And so I started lifting weights a lot, and I went from about 180 pounds my freshman year to about 210 my junior year, and started hitting the ball a little bit harder and a little bit farther. And that's kind of what helped me in my training, getting into pro ball.
Now, you made your MLB debut on August 23, August 23rd, 2013 for the Houston Astros. How was that like playing for that organization?
Yeah, it was really wonderful. I mean, I played in the minor leagues before that for about 11 years. And, just baseball, just experienced a lot of ups and downs. It was kind of roller coaster, but always loved to play. And that's what I just kind of went into every day with, just, kind of happy to be here and love to play. And then finally, after 11 years, got called up to the big leagues, and it was just an incredible experience. And I remember sitting in the dugout during that game, my first game there on August 23rd, and just watching the game. I didn't start that day, and I just remember about the third or fourth inning, tears started coming to my eyes. I just was just my dream had come true. I was there, and I think I got a pinch hit late in that game. But it was just an incredible experience. The fulfillment of a lifelong dream.
Now, was Billy Porter was your manager that year, right?
Bo Porter, yes.
Sorry, Bo Porter. I know him. I had the wrong guy.
Yeah, yeah. You know Bo?
Yeah, I know Bo.
Yeah, yeah. Great guy, for sure.
And did you play with Altuve, or was that before Altuve was there?
No, Altuve was there. He was our second baseman that year, and I don't know if I ever played with a better hitter than Altuve. He's really something, really fun to watch, day in and day out, just the way that he goes about his business and how much energy he plays with, and things like that. I mean, it's really amazing.
Now, what was your favorite moment of that year in 2013 when you made your debut with the Astros? Any game, pick any game you want. What was your favorite moment about that? Any game. It doesn't have to be the debut, any game till the end of the season.
Yeah, I mean, I think the moment that sticks out from that year is when I got my first hit. It took me a few games to get my first hit, and then we were playing a home game against the Los Angeles Angels, and I was facing Jason Vargas. And my first at bat, I flew out to right, but I hit it pretty good and just felt really confident after that. And then my second at bat, um, it was a 2-1 count, and he threw me a curveball, and I got a base hit to center field, and got a nice ovation from the crowd, and just kind of the weight of the world off my shoulders that I got my first hit, and it was just a really fun experience.
It's a better experience being an Astros player than being in the spotlight with the Phillies or the New York Mets or the New York Yankees or the Boston Red Sox or the Los Angeles Dodgers or San Francisco Giants, because those fans will boo you, as Giancarlo Stanton already knows.
That's true. That's true. I mean, there's a lot of pressure in playing in those venues and under those fan bases. At the same time, you do well and they love you. So it's really kind of a good situation when you're playing well.
Now, what was your favorite part of the 2015 Royals, Kansas City Royals season, and plus your favorite part of the World Series?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, winning the World Series that year was an amazing accomplishment. I mean, it's still really clear in my mind how we won it. The last game we beat the the New York Mets at Citi Field, and we came back in the ninth inning to tie the game, and then won it in extra innings. And that was just an amazing experience. I think, what stood out to me was just, I think that year we went to the World Series in 14 and lost in Game 7 to the San Francisco Giants, and that was just kind of a team that hadn't been to the playoffs in a while, and just kind of got in with a wild card and things like that, and a really scrappy team. Well, the 2015 team was different. We had the best record in the American League pretty much from start to finish, and we're just kind of on a mission that year. We had gotten so close in 14, and all of the guys I remember were just so focused that following year. And they're a really close group of guys. And I think that was just the amazing thing to see, was everybody came into work every day with just laser focus on everyone knew kind of what the goal was and what we were trying to do. And that kind of stands out that year.
Now, you got to be you were a bullpen catcher. How was that experience?
That was a good experience. It's a great job. I had just kind of finished my playing career as a catcher, and then shifted into that experience where, I didn't get a ton of big league time as a player. So being in the big league locker room for 3 years, I got to kind of see how things are run, see how decisions are made. Um, Had some responsibilities, before the game, being in the coach's room, and then, being on the field, throwing a lot of batting practice, playing catch with pitchers, and then, getting to warm them up before going into the games. It was just kind of like being on a fly on the wall on getting to see how, decisions are made and stuff like that, which was a great experience. And then just getting to know and have a relationship with a lot of coaches and players on that team. It was just a lot of fun. Getting to throw batting practice before World Series games was just a ton. It was just a ton of fun. It was all just a dream come true.
And you got to be a part of the 15 and oops, sorry about that. That's my cat. 15. You got to be part of the 15 All-Star game because you guys went there in 14, and you got to be part of the 16 All-Star game on the coaching staff.
That's
How
right.
did you like that? Because not that many people can make it to the All-Star game as a player, or even can make it on a coaching staff with the manager.
That's right. Pardon me. Those were incredible experiences. Just to, when I was at the All-Star game, I just tried to soak everything in. I tried to just, I caught during the home run derbies. I was one of the catchers, behind the plate, and just seeing the balls leave the yard from that angle was really cool. I forgot who won it the first year, but the second year, I mean, Albert Pujols was in it, and just a bunch of guys that I looked up to, when I was playing and before my career started, and and then just to be in the locker room with all of those guys, I just remember just sitting there and just trying to remember everything about those experiences and just um, being in the outfield playing catch with some of the Cole Hamels and just some of the guys that I didn't get to be around every day. I just tried to, um, just you know strike up conversations with guys that I don't get to be around that are just I have a lot of respect for. It was just so much fun.
And what's funny about bringing up Bruce Bochy, not to bring up a sore subject in 14, he went for the Chris Young got him out of retirement,
I
his
know.
former pitcher, and he won for the World. He won the World Series the first time in history for the Rangers. And at the beginning of the year, I told somebody I thought the Rangers would win the World Series because of Bruce Bochy. They did.
Yeah. You're right. He's an incredible manager. Chris Young was on our team in 2015 that won the World Series, and he was a starting pitcher for a lot of the year, and he was in the bullpen for some of the year too. And so when he was in the bullpen, he would sit. We would sit together and we would talk baseball a lot. And I remember hearing him say that Bruce Bochy was one of the best managers he'd ever played for, and he just had a lot of respect for him. And so when Chris got him out of retirement, it wasn't a shock to me because I knew he would be targeting him. And Bruce, he knows how to run a clubhouse. He knows how to run a game. He's just really good. A lot of respect for that guy and what he's done in his career.
It's like Joe Torre when he was a manager, or Tommy Lasorda, or Bobby Cox, or Ned Yost is another one that is a good
Yeah.
manager, and it runs in his family because his son's a manager.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. Ned is great, especially in the clubhouse. I have a lot of respect for him and just the way that he interacts with the players. And Ned was really good when things weren't going well, and he wouldn't do it a lot, but every once in a while he would gather the team together in the locker room and just talk to the team and it seemed like every time he did that, he was just really good at just pulling the most out of the team and getting them to refocus and he was one of the best at giving speeches I think I'd ever been around.
And I have respect for Ned Yost. I'm not a Royals fan and all that, but I have respect for him, just like I have respect for Bruce Bochy. I have respect for Dusty Baker. He's another one that finally got to win a World Series, but
Yeah.
Dusty Baker's been through a lot of stuff.
No doubt. I mean, you don't win a World Series by accident. You got to be really good. You got to be at the top of your field to do so. And those guys all were really good managers. I mean, you take a look and Ned Yost went into the Royals Hall of Fame last year. I mean, that's shows you how good he really was. And same thing with Dusty Baker. These guys have been doing it for so long. There's a reason they keep getting jobs because they're really good.
And then what's his name? The guy, was he general manager of baseball operations? George Brett. Was he there
Yeah,
when you were there?
George is great. Was around the clubhouse. He wasn't the hitting coach when I was there. I think Dayton Moore kind of pulled him out of retirement in 13 to be sort of semi-retirement to be on field as a hitting coach. And then in 2014, when I came, he kind of went back to more of a advisory role. But he was around almost every day. He was in the clubhouse in spring training every day. And you talk about one of the best hitters of all time, and just a really good resource for players to go up and talk to. It was amazing.
That's like the Derek Jeter of the Royals almost.
Yeah, no doubt about it. You're talking about Major League Baseball Hall of Fame, and he's hanging around hanging around the guys in the clubhouse. Um, so it's just kind of an awe moment every time you get to talk to him. You just gotta be quiet and listen to what he has to say.
And Ned Yost, I used to see games because I have the MLB.TV by the MLB Extra Innings, then now I have the MLB.TV. But Ned Yost, I always saw and sometimes before the games, if they were playing the Yankees in New York or even Kansas City, um, George Brett was sitting there talking to him.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. He and George had a obviously really good relationship, and they played in the same era, played against each other, and just they're two old school baseball guys where they're just grew up around the game and then made it a career, and so just a really good connection there.
Now, a lot of those guys, speaking of that, Bruce Bochy didn't like it either. Same with Terry Francona. They don't like the analytics. So Chris Young and the owner of the Rangers allowed Bruce Bochy to coach the way he wanted to. And that's what led him to a World Series.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you're talking about Bruce Bochy and those guys that you'd say are old school baseball guys, they just based on the track record that they have, Bruce Bochy won what, three World Series in San Francisco, and you kind of give them a bigger leash to do what they want to do and make the decisions they want to make because they've proven that they're really good. And so I think Chris did that, and obviously you take the analytics part of it because that's so big in our game now, and you use it as a piece of the puzzle, and you use the information, and I think that Bruce and those guys have done a good job of doing that.
And they do that, but like the Cleveland Indians, when they were still the Cleveland Indians before they turned into the Cleveland Guardians, they allowed Terry Francona to manage the way he managed. He didn't want to do the analytics. He was so old school, just like Bruce Bochy.
Right, right, no doubt about it. I think that's a good point. Before I got into the amateur scouting, I was on the pro scouting side doing a lot of um, advanced scouting, and the Cleveland Indians at the time, now they're the Guardians, but they were one of the teams I used to advance scout a lot, and I just got to see how Terry Francona ran his bullpen. I think he was probably one of the best at running a bullpen I've ever seen. There are times when he didn't have a lot of power, not a lot of power pitching down in the bullpen, but he still got the most of their guys. He put them in situations to succeed. He had a lot of left-right matchups and things like that, and he really got the most out of his players and really got the most out of especially his bullpen. And I think that helped him win just a lot of games.
I know that um when George Brett comes in to talk to the Yes Network guys up in New York sometimes to stop and visit because he knows David Cohn and he had David Cohn on his, but George Brett also down in Kansas City, he said he's a fan of some of the rules, but he's not a fan of all the new rules they're doing. I know he complained about that to Mike O'Kay and Paul O'Neill and David Cohn one time, and David Cohn said he knew what was going on there. And I kind of agree with George Brett, but now there's people bored and they say, well, baseball ain't a sport. Well, baseball is a sport. It's just the commissioner had to speed it up, but people it's got bored. And that's why Rob Manfred is speeding it up as much as a lot of players and a lot of ownership and fans and players don't like Rob Manfred. That's something good that he did.
Speeding up the game.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think that I don't know Commissioner Manfred personally, but I know, I think that he's trying to get more viewership and get more fans involved. And I think when you just take a look at what the younger fan wants is he wants a faster paced game. And when I used to talk to players, hey, do you watch baseball? And they say, no, I'd like to play, but it's just not fast enough for me. And so I think that that's an issue that he's trying to resolve by putting pitch clocks out and things like that. And I think it worked. Also, but if you ask George Brett and all the old school guys, it's like nothing was wrong with the game. So they kind of liked it the way it was for sure.
And I'm not to make people mad watching my show, but I'm kind of like a George Brett. I'd rather see it the way it was. Like you pull your left hander out. and then
Mhm.
you don't have to worry about, should I put my left-hander in now, or should I leave my right-hander in? Because if I put my left-hander in and there's two righties after that, then suppose the guy doesn't get you can't pull him out anymore. You have to face three batters.
Right, right, and I think that's where we talked about Terry Francona being one of the best I've ever seen at running his bullpen. He did that a lot. He was a left guy. He'd have bringing the left-handed pitcher to face the lefty, and then immediately bringing the right-handed pitcher. Well, obviously you can't do that anymore. They thought all the pitching changes were slowing down the game and things like that. I kind of liked it the way that it was, and I think if you ask all the left-handed specialists, they kind of did too. But now they got to figure out how to get righties out. So it's definitely brought in some different strategy to the game, and um, but I don't know. We'll just have to adjust.
Now Ned Yost, I bet you he wouldn't be a fan of it, just like George Brett, because he was somebody that put his left-hander in there when he needed to put it in there, and right hand. You'd know Ned because he on his coaching staff. He was another one of those guys that probably wouldn't
Yeah,
be a fan of the new rule.
yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, I think it. I think if you ask all the true diehard fans, we grew up, Ned and George and all those guys grew up, diehard fans of baseball, watching baseball. So we didn't care if the games were long. Ned didn't care if the game was long or whatever. So, uh, we didn't think it needed to be fixed, actually. You know what I mean? Um, but I think uh, Ned was good at running his bullpen too. And so I don't know. You'd have to ask him if he's a fan of this, but I don't think he would be either.
Now, what's your perspective about this new rule?
About
The
you
new
got to face three batters.
rushing the game. You can only put your left-hander. You have to pay three. Now managers have to think. It's not like a Joe Torre or a Joe Girardi or a Ned Yost or a Bobby Cox or a Buck Showalter or a Tony LaRussa or any of these guys. Dusty Baker was not a fan of it. But now you have to think, should I leave my right-hander in there to face, or should I put my left-hander in there and hope that he gets the first one out, and then have to hope that he gets three outs now?
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. I mean, again, I'm not a huge fan of the speed up rules. I understand why they're there, and they are actually speeding the game up a little bit. But I kind of liked it where you could make a pitching change whenever you wanted to, and like I said, I mean, I was a catcher, and so now catchers can't just go out to the mound and talk to the pitchers when they want. They have to you only have a certain number of mound visits. And so I don't think I would have liked that too much, if I played. But I understand it. And so, I can roll with it.
And also now too, they have the rule that I think it just came out this year. It wasn't last year. It was this year. They have the rule that you can only ask for time once. If you ask for time, if you just decide to step out and you don't ask for your time, you're in trouble.
That's right. That's right. You get one time as a hitter to call timeout. And so a lot of times you'll see hitters, pardon me, when they get to two strikes, they'll call time and just kind of just step out of the box and just reset for a minute. Yeah. Um, I never really did too much of that when I was hitting, but I know some guys did for sure.
And you're a catcher, so you'd know to step out of the box when because you batted, you didn't pitch. But
Right.
a lot of like the Yankees were talking about just Michael Kay, but and also Dave O'Brien, the Red Sox guy, and let's say the Royals, all the teams are talking about broadcasters. What happens if it comes down to a World Series and they're trying to win the game and you lose the game because you guys steps out and it doesn't have time for time? That'll be a problem for the team that loses,
Yeah.
whoever the team is, and
Right.
problem for their fans. And they'll be
Right.
going after the commissioner and his new rules. That's something that I don't like, because they should extend a little grace in the playoffs, especially if like the Rangers made a mistake and they were trying to come back against the Diamondbacks, but they didn't have to. But in the bottom of the ninth inning, and they lost the World Series because they made one mistake of stepping out two times.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think anybody should lose a game, especially in that situation, in any playoff game, by stepping out more than once. I'm actually I'm kind of surprised they kept the speed up rules during the playoffs. I thought that they were going to kind of do away with that, but they kept them. Yeah, and so I'm in agreement. I don't think anyone should have to lose a game because of that.
And also, what I don't like, but I understand what they're doing. They started this in 2020 when the fans went on the stands, but the man at second base, that's the Manfred rule. I'd be a fan of it if it was like the 13th or 14th inning, but I think they should just play like they did in the old eras before 2020, where they can have, like, if it goes past 12 innings, go to the 13th inning or 14th, and then you put a man at second base.
I agree. I agree as well. I agree as well. I think maybe, not in the 10th or 11th or whatever. Because you still have you usually have some fresh bullpen arms, and you want to see how deep your team is. And a lot of times, if I've got a deep bullpen and some fresh guys, you want to roll with those guys. Um, so I agree. I'm not a huge fan of starting the runner at second base in extra innings.
And another thing too is the 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 home field meant something in the World Series and the All Star game. But Commissioner Manfred moved on from it, and in my opinion, I didn't like that. Now it's the best record, but the All Star game is like a who, somebody might say I don't want to win it this year because it's not worth anything.
Yeah, they did that when Bud Selig was commissioner, and I think the All Star game was in Milwaukee, and it ended in a tie because both teams ran out of pitching, and so the next year they made it whoever won the All Star game, got that league got to host the World Series. And so they did that for a while, and I think there was kind of mixed feelings about that throughout the league. A lot of teams, a lot of people thought the best record should get to host, and the All Star game shouldn't. But I don't know. I mean, I could take it or leave it either way.
Yeah, yeah. But I just remember, I remember that tie in 2002, and then after that, when they were in U.S. Cellular, I believe it was U.S. Cellular then, where the White Sox
Right.
played in '03. That's when Commissioner Selig said, "Let's do it this year because I don't want to have to play where it's a tie each year."
Right. Right. Exactly. For sure. For sure. So then they started, not ending games in the tie.
Do you have your World Series ring on you?
I do. I do. Give me 1 minute. I forgot to get it. It's just in my room here.
All right,
Yeah. Hold on. Let me get 1 minute. All right. Sorry about that.
it's all right.
Here it is right here. All right. See, that's pretty cool. So it's got, I don't know if you can see, but see, it says 2015 right
Yeah,
there.
see that right there was the World Series trophy.
That's right. World Series trophy. And then my name there, Clark,
Hey,
with
Clark.
kind of a picture of Kauffman Stadium
Yeah,
there.
I can see that. I remember when you guys were getting them that year.
Yeah. There was almost 1 million people at the World Series parade that year, which was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's what happens when the Royals. I forgot the last time the Royals won it, and then you guys won it in '15, and everybody will come out because I mean the Royals are a team that they didn't win it in a while. They're not like the Texas Rangers. The Royals have won it before '15, but they're not like the Texas Rangers where they won it their first. I mean, that was their
Right.
first trophy.
Right. Yeah. There were a lot of good teams back in the late 70s and 80s. The George Brett era. They won it in 1985, beat the Cardinals that year, and then 30 years later won it in 2015. And the city of Kansas City, they're a it's a good baseball town. Um, a lot of support for the good teams there. So it was really really cool.
One thing. What are you focusing on now for a job, and what's your career about now?
Yeah. So now I am a baseball scout. I'm still with the Kansas City Royals. I'm in the amateur scouting world. So I'm an area scout down in the deep south. So I live in Alabama and I cover Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama. So see a lot of high school players and college players for the upcoming draft.
And just to let you know, I have to get going because I have 8:54 remaining. So, Cody, thanks for coming on.
Thanks.
I
It's
hope
great. Great to be here. Yeah, anytime.
you're welcome. Maybe we'll get you back on at some point. I hope everybody has a great rest of their Wednesday afternoon, Wednesday evening, Wednesday night. Thank you again, Cody. This has been Carl Achin Jr. signing off until next time.
Thanks, Carl.